the social selling routine, what to do if you want to measure success, and you are at the Swiss Social Selling Forum in English, as you can see, and this session is live streamed. Do we say live streamed? Anyway, to LinkedIn, to Facebook, to YouTube, to Twitch, and to Twitter. Yeah, and you may join us via Zoom. It's better, especially because from 2 to 3 we will have specific workshops which cannot be streamed. We have only one of the workshops which will be able to be streamed. So if you want to participate to very small groups in this workshop, you better come to Zoom. Okay, Patrick. Oh, it's nice, Patrick. Hello. So, Roger, without further ado, as they say, I leave the stage to you during 26 minutes.
That's
26, including Q&A, question and answers, Roger. Okay?
All right. We'll try my best. Thank you, Loic. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful lunch break already, or that you're enjoying it right now. I'm delighted to talk to you today about the digital selling routine and what to do if you want to measure success. And I try to wrap up the things we already talked about this morning and this early afternoon, because I think it's quite important that we know what we do and we have a focus on what we can leverage upon the information just shared. And me as an entrepreneur, I'm always asking myself, due to my limited resources, as you all have, that where can I spend my time with the best and most effect, which is basically with my customers, right? And then every Monday, my iPhone tells me differently. It tells me I have a problem with LinkedIn, YouTube, and yes, TikTok. My excuse, however, is that I can spend over 100 hours because we build digital business models. And when I will talk about today about how to build a digital selling routine, for me, it's quite important to emphasize that I will talk about digital selling and not only about social selling. For me, there's a difference, because social selling basically is the art. It's how you do it. And digital selling is the whole framework around it. And I will get back to this framework in a second after I start my introduction. But it's very important to see that all the things we heard already this morning, all the things we will hear, is about a combination of skills, tactics, and routine. But let me just start first with what is actually right now happening, because we live in a new digital reality, and some people may have noticed that things have changed. I'm not talking about all the people that's just walking like little, Neanderthals back to their arched back. It's something that has changed in terms of business. And we as sellers, or also as entrepreneurs, we're always facing the same issue. And the same issue basically is that everybody, including the platforms, they want our time. And it's not getting more. It's crazy. We have 24 hours a day, like the 1,440 minutes. And what we do, well, we spend it most of the time in front of computers or our smartphones. I have you here just a few statistics just to show you what's actually happening. Because when we see here what's happening on the smartphone, 50% of our touches are just checking the smartphone in a lock screen, seeing what's happening. And that's crazy, because basically you're opening up your iPhone or your smartphone only every second time. 50% of the time you're just checking, has something happened? And here you see on the right side, you see the time spent, right? If you get up like at 5, 6, you press snooze 3 or 4 times, you check your WhatsApp, you go on LinkedIn, you maybe send some birthday messages on Facebook, you check Instagram, you're stalking around a little bit, you send some emails, you check the radio, you make some coffee, you start working. Then you go back on LinkedIn, you check out what messages come in, then you have a meeting. Then again, you go on lunch break, maybe you open up your iPhone and you listen to some music, then you have a little lunch break and talk to people, maybe in real life. Then you open up your phone again before you start working again, and between 5, 6, 7, and 8, you're constantly on your phone, you're constantly consuming something. Maybe you're watching Netflix, checking your LinkedIn aside, you go on YouTube, you brush your teeth, you say good night, honey, and in the morning at 8 a.m. or 1 a.m., you pushed away your phone. That's crazy. It's so crazy because basically what's happening on the other side, and I'm very delighted to hear what Betty says after, because of the psychological effects, because we know nowadays that people forget 50% of the things already after 20 minutes. And when they tend to forget something, the first thing they do is they pick up their phone. And what do? They ask people. They ask people what to do. And that's what you see here on the daily reach of platforms. WhatsApp is the most used platform when it comes to reach, but second is YouTube because it's a looking up platform. Then comes Facebook, Instagram, the Messenger, and with 14% down here, there's LinkedIn. And there's more effects to it, because I'm saying we're not only forgetful because there's so much thing happening, but we're also forgetful because we're all having a disease. It's called selective amnesia. Because Google is around for 22 years now, we rely on Google, our second brain, which leads to the fact that if you want to purchase something and if you have a buying decision, people rely on Google. And that's bad. It's bad for social media because you're either on Google or you're on social media. And the social medias know that because that's what they build in the algorithm. They build in the algorithm the so-called dwell time. To dwell in the past means you're just thinking too much about something that already has happened. And the dwell time factor in the algorithm basically means nothing else that they are measuring the amount of time you spend looking at a certain piece of content compared to the rest and how much you come back and what you skip in the meanwhile. That's crazy, right? Because this gives you much more value to the content you put out there. This means that basically what you need to do in your routine is you have to make the people come back. As this famous song says, baby, come back, please. But it's not only about the content, it's also about your profile, it's also about everything that you put out. But the thing is, if you put something out, which people tend to skip because it's too much editorial, it's too silly, they will not react to it. Even more, you can basically just post a blank white canvas. I did the experiment twice now. 6 months ago, almost 12,000 views and 149 comments. And just a few days ago, with 51 comments and 8,000 views. It's just a blank canvas. I'm asking a question. I'm using, by the way, the blank canvas in 4:3 ratio just to make sure that people are not scrolling because it takes away a lot of the screen, right? So it's better to be the only focus point of attention. But why is a post like this, which is totally empty, has nothing basically to add, but it asks the people to react to it? Why is it so valuable and why do we need to do that? Well, the thing is that when we talk about LinkedIn, we need to get some figures and some facts straight. We have now 722 million worldwide. The amount of people using LinkedIn has grown tremendously. Also, the sessions have grown. Over 30% of sessions are more now used on LinkedIn. However, people generating content in the German, Austria, Swiss region is only 3.1%. That's the figure from the last 30 days. In the US, by the way, it's 1.75%, which means that out of the millions and millions of people, only a few are creating content. Well, and that's actually bad. Because if you compare that to the other social networks, if you check WhatsApp, on WhatsApp, you're like 65% of people using WhatsApp, they're also texting, right? Same goes for Facebook, YouTube, Instagram is 13. With LinkedIn, we are close to 4%, which means that we are only like 1/3 away from Instagram. That's the potential, by the way. Do we belong now to the people that are creating content or not? It gets even worse because to the few people that generate content, even less interact. Only 2 to 10% react to your content. Well, if you have a good day, right? Because the statistics basically says that the overall interaction rate on LinkedIn is between 0.2 and 2%. So if you react, you're visible. And here's the good news, because you don't need any tool, you don't need anything that costs you, you don't need any premium license, you don't even need the sales navigator, but what you need to do is you need to understand that your network is your net worth. Because for every reaction you do, you reach the people on the second and on the third degree. Maybe check your LinkedIn feed next time and check how many of the posts have this little thing above it saying like, Arno finds this inspiring, or Loic has commented, or people have reacted to it. Because there's so few people creating content and even less people reacting to it, LinkedIn, every social media, by the way, has to recycle it. They basically have to tell you what other people did on what people did, right? And the question is, are you doing it? Because know that every person is a multiplier and social media always works in indirect ways. Your profile basically is just your second point of contact. And your first point of contact is what you create and what you put out there. Or how I always put it, interaction turns into connections, and connections hopefully turns into conversations. But you need to have a routine for that. And I emphasized it before already, 15 minutes would be enough. 15 minutes in the morning, and maybe add 15 minutes after lunch and interact with the people. You may like or comment on things on your feed. You might even figure out who might be your future prospect, but not directly, more indirectly. And why do I say morning and lunchtime? Well, that's basically when the people are online and engaging. We have several heat maps here in terms of engagement when people are online. The crazy thing is basically, if you see LinkedIn is on the lower left side and Instagram is on the lower right. If you combine them, people are switching between social medias. Basically, they're also switching between social media and Google, but they're doing it while they should be working. And after work, and even after 4 or 5 p.m., the opportunity is gone. On the weekend, only us fool and experts are online just because we have to build a personal professional brand, because we know what we have to do. The rest is not there. Because as maybe some of my colleagues may say, nous sommes tous social media fatigue. We don't want. We don't need. But the thing is that once you go out there, you have to do one thing and one thing only. You have to say thanks. You might be amazed how much it values today if you say thank you to a person. You may say thank you in a post. You may thank you in a comment. You may even say thank you in a recommendation. Because it's not about you and it's not about your product. It's not about your solution. It's what people say about you. And if they say nice things about you because you said nice things about you, well, that might influence the buying decision, right? Because it's not about selling. However, and here comes biology, your face sells. And even if you're unshaved and not pretty as me today, it doesn't matter because it's a part in your brain. It's called gyrus fusiformis, and it's quite a huge thing which leads to facial recognition within half a second. It was developed about 40,000 years ago to recognize if there's an enemy or a friend. So basically, when you're out in the open and you're hunting, you need to know this person with this big thing in his hand. Is he come to chill, or does he want to steal my wife, my food, and my kids? And it's in us. We have this very, very, very fast feeling of if you trust somebody. We trust somebody within half a second, and the more repeatedly we see the people, we start trusting more, which is funny. You know why? Because LinkedIn already said that in 2004. That's the original pitch deck of LinkedIn in 2004. I love it. Find and contact the people you need through the people you already trust, not through the people you already know, not through people who sell you something, not through all the people who might maybe interact or LinkedIn or whatever to. No, it's find the right people through the people you already trust. Because they knew that flag directories, which basically is the equivalent of direct mailing or in mailings, it will not work. It will not work, and they knew it because that was the time and the rise of the social networks, right? And there was no way, no trusted way from professional to find another professional. And you know what? 16 years later, LinkedIn topped up. They built this thing here. It's under linkedin.com/services, and basically it's a marketplace. What people don't understand with this marketplace, which has been rolled out in the US and now coming to Europe, is this part here about proposals. If you click on this thing, LinkedIn will search providers for you. They will search the people you may trust. And let me say you something. The people that get recommended are the people who have recommendations and confirmed skills and experiences in their profiles, which basically would help if you know that, well, now we know that interactions turn to connections and connections turn to conversations. Those conversations should turn into relationships. Here comes my second routine. Because we know now that you have to interact, but the algorithm cannot find you and people cannot find you what you stand for if you don't put out content. You need to have a content routine, and you need to have 2 days a week where you put out content. Why? Because what Basler said in the morning, you have to react. I don't believe in purely just planning or scheduling things out there if you do not react on it. Because the first 20 minutes up to 2 hours of once you put your content out and react to it is crucial, because the algorithm wants our attention. So they measure how fast and how much people react to it. So if you have 2 days a week, let's say Tuesday and Thursday, every Tuesday it's 7, every Thursday it's 10, you put out your content and you wait and you react. You have to do it. Now people ask me that, yeah, but Roger, what can I put out there? We talked about this morning, because what content might be useful? Look, the thing is that we know now from the beginning that people trust Google. And Google tells us basically in the whole funnel before they come to a decision what they're looking for. Here's the thing. Google tells us that people do not search for answers. They're searching for questions. If you look at the highest trending keywords of last year, it's the question about how, why, and who. And here's the great thing. There's a machine for that. It's free. It's called www.alsoask.com. You can up to 1,000 requests send within 3 months. What does it do? Well, you ask a term, for example, financial freedom here in German, and it tells you all the questions who lead to questions who lead to other questions. So basically, you know what people are asking. And if you know the question, it's what Loic said this morning as well, you have to put out the question, but you also have to put out the answer in the very same post. So people know that you know the question, but you also know the answer. And now you say, yeah, but when can I put that out? Well, I mean, if you don't have the time, there's a free tool to schedule, and it's from Microsoft. Why is it great? Why it's from Microsoft? Because basically you can connect your LinkedIn profile and your company page. You can also connect all your Facebook and Instagram stuff and your Twitter as well. It's free and it's from Microsoft, which is great. Because here's the irony when it comes to selling. We know the moment you try selling, people will put you on mute. And that's bad. And we also know that only relationships turn into revenue. Maybe sometimes just as a referral. But when it comes to that, you need to know that it's a system. It's an ecosystem. Basically, it's the thing I showed you in the very beginning. What you need to understand is that it all starts with your mindset. You need to understand that you have to help, you have to put out things, and then there is your social selling routine. Within your social selling routine, there is your why and your who's, meaning what are you doing and for whom, which builds your professional brand, or it's what people say when you're not in the room. Then there are several touch points. There might be a selling when it comes to insights. This may come from some people that know, okay, but that's what you stand for. It might come from referral, right? Basically, it's your content that you put out there and people refer to. Or it can also be on a trigger, but trigger-based marketing or triggers-based selling is always quite difficult. You need tools for that. You need Google Analytics, or what we use, Lead Feeder. Why do we use those tools? Because we know exactly what's happening on our websites. We know what's happening on our selling pages, but we also know on the other side what's happening on LinkedIn, because we are measuring with linked analytics and Shield app what's the content that people love, which is basically this here. I know exactly how far my reach is. I reach within 1 year with roughly 5,000 contacts, 500,000 people. And 2.5% of the people react to it, which I like. And some posts go well, some don't. You know what? I don't care. What I do care is if there's a trend. And what I also care about is what's happening on my website. Because I know that every fourth person who's coming to my website, I have a conversion rate of 25%. Only 10% leave again. But the funny thing is that LinkedIn is only on third place with 23. 300 of the appointments we managed during the last 3 months, which is 100 appointments a month, they happened through Google. But I know as well that LinkedIn played a part of it, because people were Googling, then they went back to LinkedIn, then they were Googling again, they went back to LinkedIn, and they were Googling, and then they came. And that's basically what you need to do, and it's basically what would help. Here's the funny part, because I know I only have like 26 minutes and I'm 20 minutes down now. I have everything down for you. It's on 3 pages, all my 10 points, and it's for free. And you know what? All the links I just shared, everything I just talked about, everything you need to know, it's in the chat. You know why? Because you need to help and you need to get the attention where it's important. Thank you very much. We live in an economy of attention, I know.
I know Uwe, by the way. Yes, I do. Yeah, Uwe Jalleman. Yes, I do know him. Well,
I'm curious. I'm the co-founder of the Zurich Job Alliance. That is a non-profit organization for job seekers. And I got the link through Anna Einhorn. And yeah, I'm curious because I want to help our job seekers along the way, you know, and the better they sell themselves, the better it is for everyone.
And I have a question to Roger is, Roger, do you have a tip or a trick on how to scale those practices to a larger team across an organization, across a selling organization?
So first of all, I'd like to empower people. Everything I know, which is basically what you know now, also knows my team. So I know I'm not the most smartest cook in the room, and some people might be even smarter and quicker than I am. So I try to teach as many people as I can what I know. That's the first thing, right? Second thing is that we have to use the same tools, because only if we use the same tools, we can help each other out and we know what we're basically doing. And third of all, it's about measuring your impact. We have several tools, several dashboards, which we use, and we know each initiative, each link, everything we put out there, we can track and we can combine the efforts, meaning that we make information, data into knowledge. And I think people always tend to not want to go the full journey to know that's my goal and that's my impact, because it hurts in the beginning, because you suck, or I did suck as well, right?
Other quick question, if I may. Starting such an initiative in an organization, by when, what's the time lag before you effectively see an impact?
24 hours.
That short?
Yes. You know why? Because I force people to do it. I force people to post things. I force people to interact. I force people to get their faces out. And you have 100% of chance if you try. You have 0% of chance if you don't try.
Okay. So it means the middle management or the managers of the sales force are absolutely instrumental to make that happen.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. And you also need to figure out that there are some, I call them kingpins. It's a term of like, you know, when you go bowling and the one that's like, you know, switching and then it pulls out the other way, right? You have to figure out the people within your organization, within your team that do more than the rest, and they can show as a good example, but they also intrinsically motivate the other people because they see that they're successful. And there's some people, there's like 10% within each organization. You have to identify them, you have to motivate them, not by any means, but you have to emphasize what they're doing.
Thank you.
Any other remark or question in the room? We still have a few minutes. Frédéric, go on, Frédéric.
I just, hello, Roger. I'm very impressed with your presentation. Really amazing.
Thank you so much. I'm impressed by your camera.
Powerful. You just disappointed me. You know, I was just about to believe this guy is a god. And you said, I forced them. No, please answer the following question. How do you motivate them?
The thing is that I do it as well, right? So for example, if I do a workshop, we do it live and we do it. And I show them my results. I also show them, by the way, my bad posts, bad in terms of performance, right? Because I want them to see that some posts of mine, they reach maybe 40 people. Maybe it was the bad weather, maybe it was my writing, maybe it was just bad, you know? Doesn't matter, leave it out there. I think as soon as people realize that it's more about just doing it, and that's also why I always have my shirt back here, because it's work, right? It's not something that somebody can study, right? It comes with experience, it comes with practice. And if people see that, and people see that I'm suffering the same way as they do, and I'm sharing everything, these are real screenshots you just saw, right? I mean, I'm open, whatever. If people see that, they start connecting, because it's from connection to relationship. And that's how.
So we may want to talk later about how you motivate people's brain, because there are three leverages. You have reward, recognition, and control. That's where we will need to talk about how to nudge people into doing something.
Also pain.
But again, I'm just teasing with you because your presentation is truly impressive.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Frédéric. Frédéric will be the next speaker in a few minutes. Frédéric, make sure that your mic and everything is okay, because sometimes it was not as loud as needed compared to what Roger shared, which was crystal clear. Just to tell you. Okay. Any other question or remark? A last question for Roger, or last remark. Jérôme, Marcus, Betty, Ingeborg, Tina. Everything crystal clear?
Yeah, you need time to digest. It was a lot of information, but it was really good.
Okay, so Roger, do a last thing. Give us a summary of what you really believe is key.
Make time.
That's a good summary.
I know, right? Look, the thing is here that, and that's why I'm pausing as well. I think we are far too much emphasizing on speed and on doing many more things within the same time frame. And I truly believe that the true power, as I said before, is in focus action. Do less, but do it very consistently, and do it over a longer period of time. Because here's the thing, right? Because my routine does not tell you something new, right? I only say that reserve 50 minutes a day and reserve 2 hours a week and measure your success. It's the same thing if you start weightlifting. It's the same if you go jogging, if you say run a marathon. But you know why I'm telling you this? Because I know that 98% of the people won't do it because they're not focused. And that is a pity.
Yeah. And you seem very focused. I like it. By the way, Ingeborg, do you really know Ugur? Because he didn't put his name like Yaniman or whatever, GMX. Do you know him?
No, that was me. That was me. Yes, I do know him. I used to work with him.
Okay. But why didn't he put his last name and try to come back again and again? I'm sorry. Okay, Ugur, let's watch him, huh? Anyway. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Roger. You see, he's connecting to audio, but we don't see his video and so on. So, Ugo, we want to know who you are. Really, we want, because you did not put your name. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. No, Roger, stay with us, because this is a very important topic about nudge. Nudge is the nudge, or nudging, or whatever we call it, is the new pitch. That's Frédéric Bascuñana's next session. Frédéric, the mic and the video is to you during 28 minutes. 28 in total with the question and answers. Go on, we listen to you.
Okay, can you tell me first if the mic is better now?
It seems to be. Let's go.
Yes, you can hear me?
Yes.
No background noise? Okay.
Sometimes it's a little bit metallic voice. That's the only thing.
Sorry about it.
Okay, go on.
It's weird. Okay. We are going to talk a little bit about COVID. And there is a strong relationship between, nudging and COVID. You know why? Because when I'm going to talk about my own country. No no hypothesis about anything that's been done in Switzerland or wherever. Okay, I'm going to talk about my country. When the issue was to make sure people accept to be traced, there was this project in France to develop a nudge unit. And it's going to be a good way for me to try and share what is nudge, okay? But first, can you raise hands, people who think I should try as much as possible to define what nudge is, please?
Of course.
Yeah, you never know. I recently talked amongst an audience of marketers, and they said, yeah, we know what this is. Okay, go ahead. But okay, so that's a good idea to talk about the COVID, the way we handled the crisis, because there was this moment when we realized that we had to nudge people in such a way that they decide to install a tracking software within their cell phones. Okay, and there was this nudge specialist in France, you know, the guy who pretends to be the expert, who published a very long article about that and said, okay, if we want to fight against the COVID, we need to make sure people accept to install the bloody software. Okay, and it was a very interesting article. The guy seems to know about what he's talking about. Okay, good. Except that when it came to listing 10 good ideas about how you can influence people in such a way that they install this bloody software, the first idea was the following: we should insert the software within the operating system of anybody's phone. Okay, so we need to ask Google, through Android, or Apple through iPhone, to make sure that they pre-install the software. And the guy said, that's about nudging people. So this is the moment when I'm going to try to help you understand what is nudge. Nudge, when I started 10 years ago, I appear to be, sort of a crazy guy, talking about a new age hype tendency, with the new word. And people were wondering what this is about. Well, first thing I can tell you is that it's extremely powerful because it helps making better decisions. But here's how it happened. There was this guy called Kahneman who formalized the difference between, the system 1, system 2, the way the brain works, and he won the Nobel Prize, okay? Because system 1 is your brain being analytical, and system 2 is your brain being instinctive. So there are many decisions that you take without thinking, and some decisions that you take by analyzing the situation. Okay, you follow me? A few years later, there was this other guy. Well, there were two of them, but one is the leader. So this, let's say, two guys, Richard Thaler and Cass Sustein. They wrote a book called Nudge, and they started by using the principles that were developed by Kahneman about system 1, system 2. And the purpose was to demonstrate that we can change governance, the way we communicate to people in order, for example, to influence them positively, to take the good decision, and as a state, okay, we can influence them in a soft way. Okay, but how do we do that? So they started from the principle that if you want people to take the good decision, you have to resist to the temptation to tell them what is the good decision. You need, on the contrary, to expose the possibilities. Okay, that's the first point. If you want me to take a good decision, you have to explain what is possibility number A, possibility B, possibility C, and so on. Okay, but in this approach, you are, let's say, authorized to mention what you believe should be the good decision. So there is a first interesting paradox within the nudge theory, which is the fact that we want to explain you everything, that there is transparency. We want to value your freedom, We explain all the possible choices. Okay. But we are a little bit paternalist. That's why there is this interesting oxymoron formulated by the authors themselves. They say it's about pushing this idea then of libertarian paternalism. It's a big contradiction, but they believe it's a good contradiction because I can be paternalist with you, try and show you what's good for you, but at the same time, I'm going to show you all the other possibilities. Okay. So typical examples that they give in order to help you understand what is nudge. They say, let's say you want your kid to stop eating junk food. You don't have to cancel the junk food. You have to show them the junk food, and you have to show them healthy food, but in such a way, with the right explanation, so that they can realize what's good for them. But hey, you can still keep on eating junk food. You can still keep on doing the bad choice. Okay, you see what I mean? So it becomes very interesting because there is another layer in this theory that will help the decision makers. It's the way I introduce you to the possibilities. So possibility A, B, and C. It doesn't have to be presented without without trying to be smart. So what Thaler and Sustain said, they said, we are kind of choice architects. So the way we present the possibilities is the most important part, It's kind of showing you a usable information that is easy to grasp, easy to understand, okay? Now let me go back to the COVID thing. When the nudge specialist says we should inspire the government in this direction so that they pre-install a software within my operating system, it may be a good idea. It's no longer a nudge, okay? It's no longer a nudge because you don't decide. I don't value your freedom. So you will not be committed the same way. It's not going to be as good as it should be if you actually decided, okay? Now, there is another layer that is very interesting, and it's the most interesting. It's the more, let's say, it's a little bit philosophical because it's about freedom. When I confront you to the choices, it's a bit painful for you because I'm telling you, you're free. And when you tell to someone, you're free, it's not always great news. It's a bit of a pressure sometimes, okay? So there is this aspect which I believe is not enough well introduced about nudge, is the fact that confronting people with their own freedom may be slightly painful. But you don't want this to remain only painful. So what do? You take into account what I was telling earlier to Roger. If you want to make sure that people are motivated, you will introduce into the nudge system something that makes it attractive for your brain. So there are three leverage, reward, recognition, and control. It would be very long to develop it now, so I'm going to keep it very light. I need to explain what is your gain in case if you make this choice. Okay, so if you stop eating junk food, you may look like Brad Pitt one day. Well, you also have to go to the gym. Second thing, you will never forget to put a huge emphasis on the recognition. Make sure people get tapped in the back to say good job. And the other thing is about control. It's the most complex one. The most complex and the trickier, because for those who are using nudge the wrong way, they tend to manipulate this last aspect. As I said earlier, nudge is about giving the ability to choose, okay? And we position ourselves, when we are a nudge specialist, we position ourselves as a choice architect. You could be cheating. For example, if the choice is A, B, and C, you could sort of hide the C solution because you don't want them to choose it. Well, that's where nudge becomes, is no longer a nudge, of course, but that's where the people who misinterpret nudge, lack of practice, that's where they fail. because this is when nudge becomes manipulation. And now, if you take into account everything that's been said in a brilliant way earlier by Roger, LinkedIn, for example, is a fantastic way to pitch people. My approach consists into combining, nudge and pitch in such a way that when you pitch, you make a nudge. When you pitch, you're not trying to sell anything. You are suggesting a possibility of multiple choices, including the ones that are not good for you as a salesman. Because the interest of building such pitch based on the proper nudge, well, there are many interests. The first one is that you become a choice architect. You see, I love this. You can say whatever you want about the love of selling. I love selling, but honestly, I'm very proud to say that I love saying, I'm like Loic and many people here. I also love saying, I'm part of these salespeople who believe that they are choice architects. I love it because it's extremely strategic. It's extremely gratifying for yourself. First interest. Second interest, long-term relationships. If you go through my LinkedIn account, you will see I never sell anything. I'm only asking questions. I'm only confronting people with the ability to, perhaps commit themselves into a complex conversation. And you know why I believe it's important to target the people who are intellectually curious and open-minded? Because the product I sell, and the solution I'm selling are actually complex. So the underlying purpose of the nudge is to progressively immerse people into your universe, okay? But without cheating, by making sure you do that in such a way that you are extremely transparent, extremely ethical, you never cheat, and you make sure you make sure they are happy with the choice they make. If they are not happy with the choice they make, they must be at least responsible with the choice they make. Which means that it's a total game changer in terms of, the concept, the way you conceive your storytelling. It's no longer the same. In your storytelling, you cannot be the main character. You're not even this smart scenario writer, copywriter who makes sure people, go into the direction where, like in the sales funnels and this kind of thing, where you influence them, where influence means manipulating them into making the choice that's good for you. You cannot start nudging people without being totally honest, intellectually honest with yourself. You want them to take the decision that is actually the best for them. Even if, and that's where I may be shocking people, even if you have to incite them not to take your product, because they will realize after you introduce them to the possibilities that they are not meant for what you do. And it's more precious to keep their trust on the long term and make sure that, if they don't buy your product right now, or they are not interested by the for example, the topic of conversation that you raise, if they are not interested, it's better to make sure that they will come back later on. People sometimes take the wrong decision without even being aware. They regret it, and then they believe you are responsible for it. And that's where nudge is extremely smart, because it says, I'm going to help you take the right decision, even if it's against me. Okay? So that's why I keep on saying, we need to learn how to pitch, but we need to sort of destroy the traditional approach of pitch in order to include into it the nudge approach, which is extremely powerful. And now I would like to stop talking and make sure that you understood what I'm talking about, by asking you to ask questions if you believe it may be useful, and I would be more than happy to try and explain better.
Thank you, Frédéric. I love it.
But everybody's eating sandwiches and stuff, so they can't talk at the same time.
Thank you. I muted myself at the end, but I did not go to it because I wanted to listen to you too, like Roger. So thank you. It was I like it. So any reaction in the room now? I want reaction in the room. Okay, I saw Betty was nodding all the time. Betty, go on.
Yes, this was such a breath of fresh air. Because this is not far away from something in organizational psychology that we call the motivation theory, self-determination theory. And we have 3 points so that people motivate themselves to make a behavior. The first one is autonomy. So you really need to let people the decision to take option A, option B, or option C. It reminds me to an example as well. Like 4 years ago, I was coaching people on toxic relationships. So just think about the toxic relationship you have had before. So if I tell you, look, your relationship is toxic, you should get out of there, you're gonna go like, what? You don't know me. But if I tell you, look, if you stay there, these are the consequences. If you go, these are the consequences. Then you're gonna go like, okay, what do I want to do? So I really love your position on being very direct, even telling people what to do and being the smart cookie on the room, or really leaving up to them, because sometimes what you believe is best for other people is really not. So yeah.
It's really fantastic that you illustrate the proximity between the autonomy theory that I know with nudge, because there is a slight interesting detail that we need to try and leverage here. It's the fact that you can be autonomous. Okay, you can realize a lot of things, but still there are 2 levels of decision making in the way your brain works. There is the automatic one, and there is the analytic one. And the nudge theory is extremely powerful on this. It plays on both sides. So once we make sure you are autonomous, we are not sure that you will take the right decision. And that's where it becomes extremely complex, because I'm trying to make sure you understand how to make the good use of this autonomy without not influencing you too much. Okay, that's what I call the paradoxical influence, because I'm influencing you in a way that is very ethical. I want to make sure you're not too much influenced by what I believe. So it means I'm not hiding you what I believe, but in order to take the right decision, we need to architect, we need to produce all the possible choices. And that's where there is a lot of work. That's where, for example, storytelling, a certain approach of storytelling, of course, is extremely useful so that people can relate to their emotion and realize what you said. You're totally right.
Ah, shit, sorry, it's coming back.
Deja la puta droga, maricón de mierda. Tu mamá te quiere a tu lado. Putas, drogas, sexo, putos, putas, todos.
Cállense.
I'm sorry, Frédéric. I have to put back la salle d'attente. Hein. Je suis obligé de remettre la salle d'attente. Je suis désolé.
Ouais. Okay.
Vas-y.
It is very interesting what just happened, because it's the perfect illustration of what can be the extreme opposite of nudge. You see, they are not giving me. There is this fucking Marcos Lambo and Ismail.
I know it could be him, by the way.
Yeah. You need to remove Ismail Caravantes. Another moron.
Ismail.
Name is Ismail.
That's okay, Ismail. Bye. Okay.
No.
And anybody else? Sorry, tell us if you want to continue Zoom bombing. It's okay. Zoom bomb. It's okay. Okay, bye. Thank you.
I would suggest that
Fred, I'm sorry. I did it on purpose to see if they would come back or not. And it was just when you finished your talk. I'm sorry.
No,
go on.
We can use this as the perfect illustration of the perfect opposite of nudge, because most of the time that's, our brain is bombed with too much information. People want us to decide quickly and so on. And there is another layer that's extremely powerful if you think about, the nudge as a leverage within your organization in order to, to perform go-to-market. It's the way you will use it as a process for any relationships. I mean, what it implicates, it's the fact that you will have the obligation to take time, and you will try to make sure your clients understand that it's something that appears within any complex sale. For example, let's say you have a potential buyer who says, I'm going to give you 2 days in order to address my request for tender, okay? And you believe you need 1 week. So what do you say? You say, as my friend Fabrice Lezo said, because he's the guy who invented this amazing workshop about complex sale, he suggested we should try and think about how we would react. He inspired us a lot because he said, you need to reply to the client that in order to take the right decision, addressing your request in less than 2 days is not possible. You need to learn how to resist. And you need to make sure they understand that when you're resisting to their own frame and time frame, it's for their own good. You need to make sure that they understand that you will not try and convince them to buy your service. No. You need the proper time to build this relationship and make sure they really get all the possible choices that are in front of them. And I wanted also to tell you that it's not easy because freedom and choices, even if you explain them very well, come with a certain level of anxiety. Okay. Sometimes the client themselves, they say, no, I'm just talking to you so that you explain me what you sell because I'm almost ready to sign up the contract. Please go ahead. And that's where you need to resist, bearing in mind that it may be a little bit painful for the people you're talking to. That's where the leverage of motivation are very interesting, very important. You need to always remind that, okay, once you know how to nudge people, you need to make sure their brain react well. Reward, recognition, and control. You need to make sure that this comes with the whole conversational process. Okay, it would be very long to develop about that, but I just wanted to mention the fact that nudge in itself is not a miracle theory. It's extremely powerful to understand better the way you need to build trustworthiness with your own clients. Okay, but it doesn't work as a standalone theory. You need to combine it with first thing is common sense, the way you as a salesperson you understand your clients and so on, but thinking about all these other leverages that many people are working on when they are passionate about selling. I'm very lucky because when I work with sales teams, I always learn from the people I'm supposed to train, and more and more salespeople involved in the complex selling are that each one of them has his own theory and books they like and so on. And I realized that if you try to use nudge as let's say a roadmap, you can make sure this roadmap gets richer and richer in order to make sure that the conversations are deeper and deeper. So it's not one method. It's it's a way to combine several leverages together, if you see what I mean. So that's why I really like what you said, Betty, because this is the typical interesting thing about nudge. You can make it even more powerful by using other leverages. But I believe it's the best possible start nowadays, because the way buyers work and think, it's completely different, is by making sure you understand that anyone who sells something is no longer the guy who applies the strategy. No. He becomes a strategist. More precisely, he becomes an architect, a choice architect. And this also means that you have to change completely, to disrupt, as they say, your approach of what you believe is ethical in the sales process. For me, nudging implies huge ethics, and it's a good thing because good ethics makes sustainable relationships with long-term clients. Okay, so if you want to ask any other question, I would be more than happy. We started to talk about nudge with Michel Louis by what is the very beginning of nudge, asking the proper questions. So we still need to work on the next step, isn't it, my dear Michel? And we will, I'm sure.
I'm glad you changed the term because it was not just asking the good question, it was
of course
real.
It's a good start.
Okay.
Question.
Yeah, thank you. What we will do, we will stop in a few seconds, but Frédéric is still with us and he's conducting a workshop with a few people, 1, 2, 3, depending or more. And as you know, that the workshops will take place in parallel. Yeah, there will be 4 workshops, one on personal branding, one on prospecting, one on recruitment or being recruited, and one on nudging without manipulating. Okay, so I ask Frédéric to give us his last sentence or summary in a few words so that we can stop this session and start again. Go on, Frédéric.
Well, it's very simple. Instead of trying to sell, make sure you build something. It may not imply that you are automatically and immediately selling anything, but as I said, it's much better to consider yourself an architect, a choice architect.
So, okay, thank you. Now, I would like to have a feeling of how many people want to go to the recruitment session. You just say put 3. You put 3, which is the number of the workshop in the messaging. Put 3 so that I see how many want to go in the recruitment session. Yeah. Okay. Then you put continue putting 3 if you really want to go to this session. Now put 1 if you want to go to the personal branding session. Those who want to go or need to go to the personal branding, put 1. And of course, Roger, you have to put 1 because you are in this one as well as Betty normally. Yeah. Okay. Roger, I did not see Roger. Then number 2 is prospecting. Anybody wants to go to prospecting again or not? Put it then. Yeah, Jari, you don't know what you want, but it's okay. You can change. Okay, somebody wants to go in prospecting. It's number 2. Nobody for number 2. Nobody, not even the moderator, which is François Xavier. So nobody wants to go to prospecting. Okay, so François Xavier, I think you can follow the nudge session if you want. We forget about the prospecting one, yeah.
No problem.
And who wants to go to the nudge session, the last one? Anybody wants to go to the nudge session, which is the 4th, number 4? No, Frédéric, of course you want, but perhaps nobody wants to so far. Yeah, there is at least 2 or 3, so that's okay. So right now we will forget about the prospecting session. We had a long time on this, François Xavier. Okay, are you okay with this? And if somebody comes, I will assign them to another session, whatever. So I suggest you go to another session. Which one do you want to go, François Xavier?
I mean, nudge could be a topic of interest.
Okay. So put it here so that I will stop this session.
What number for me? Nudge.
4. Please wait a few seconds. I stop this streaming. I start again in 2 minutes, and I will decide which one I stream. And I think I will still stream number. The most people. Where are the most people? It's either nudge or personal branding. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 2. Okay. Stop saying now. I told you to say before. Yeah. Okay. Which one do you want me to stream? Does anybody want me to stream one of them?
Nudging.
Nudging? You want me to stream nudging? Roger, sorry, but we will stream nudging, but I will try to record the personal branding one, if you don't mind. The recruitment, I think you can do it with yourself, yeah, together. I cannot record. See, perhaps I can record 3. I will try. So if you are listening to this, the next session will be normally nudge in terms of what is in replay at least. Yeah, okay. See you in a few seconds.